Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Phil.
There's the find of the month up here, sorry, forgot brain fart here. So, you guys can vote on it, break wall, get it.
Is this going to be, boy, that's, you have to have your mouth right on that, don't you?
Yeah, it's kinda.
Okay, all right. It's good to be with you.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
I do not have book 2 out yet, okay? I've got 3 chapters put together, so it'll get there eventually. Okay, is this comfortable enough that I can talk to everybody like right here? Is this okay?
Yes.
Okay. I think everybody here likes adventure, don't we? Okay, well, I've broken up my presentation into 7 categories. Treasure, Utah's ancient history, Spanish were here, the Lost Roads mines, tools, clues and evidence, symbols in stone, and the pursuit of gold. So, how many of us like to go treasure hunting? We all do, don't we? And sometimes you even find what you're not expecting to find. I'm going to have Brad stand up for a minute here. Come on. This is my friend Brad Hertz. And he and I were in Germany together. There's another picture of him. I'm going to tell a story on you, okay? You can sit down. Thanks. So we didn't know that we weren't supposed to metal detect in Germany. Okay, there are 2 states down in southern Germany.
Bavaria.
Yeah, Bavaria you can metal detect in, but Essen you can't. Okay, so he happened to bring over a couple of metal detectors from Utah. So he had one for himself and one for his wife. Well, he let me borrow one of those, and we had a lot of fun, didn't we, Brad?
We did.
So I started uncovering something. I didn't know what it was. I could tell it was metal, but I had no idea what it was. And then I started seeing the shape to it. Had a little nubbin on the end. I thought, this must be a sword. Or something like that. Turns out it was a dagger. There's another picture of it. And I found 6 shells with it, unspent shells. The shells have the date on the back end, 1939, so it's just before the Second World War. So we figured the bayonet was probably the same time frame. But how was I going to get those back to Utah? There's no way I could have brought those home. I had them in the apartment for a while, didn't I, dear? I would have loved to have done that, but it just didn't work out. It wasn't meant to be. So now let's move on. Utah's ancient history. Who thinks we've got a lot of history in Utah? Is there anybody that thinks that we might even have some Aztec history? I think you're probably right, you know. There could even be a long shot of Chinese exploration in Utah. Who knows? You know, it's possible. Everybody seen the, or has anyone seen this Thunderbird up in Blind Stream? It's also, well here, it's right here. It's also in Gail's Black Book, the rest of the story. These are some books that I recommend, by the way. Some of them are out of print, like that one. You can't get it anymore. If you can get it, it's more money than this one. I spent almost $200 at Christmas time to get this one, and they wanted $250 for this one. I didn't get this one. I already had one. In fact, I sold one to a friend. Didn't I, Mark? So, let me move on here. This is a little replica of a larger map, Hayden Pass or Hayden Peak map.
You're flipped, aren't you?
Has it flipped? Does it? No, it's right side. This one isn't. But in any case, has line of the bears, line of the eagles, line of the caves, and so on and so on. This is part of my inheritance from Ed Twitchell. An Indian took this map, Hayden Peak map, and he marked on it, and he drew lines and so on. So what it is that the pyramids line up, the caves line up, the Thunderbirds line up, and so on and so on. There's a lot of history here. It'd take a guy a lifetime to even track down some of this stuff. So my sister's son, Burke Lance, he found these two artifacts up there in Blind Stream a couple of years ago. So those look antique to me, don't they? Those are pretty old. Okay, the Spanish were here, right? So let's reason this out. If the Spanish were here and the Atocha sank in 1622, and let's theorize that some of the gold and so on that was on the Atocha when it sank came from Utah, that means the Spaniards were in here before 1622. Anybody for the late 1500s maybe? I think it's possible. Oh, this is something to think about. I'd like you to think out of the, I'm going to get you uncomfortable tonight. I'm going to get you out of the comfort zone. What if, okay, who's a deer hunter here? Okay. Do you guys, when you go deer hunting, do you have a camp set up? You do, don't you? And then from that camp, you go out various days and you try this spot and then that spot and so on. Well, I think that's what the Spaniards did. This is Mosby Mountain. And there's a camp up there, a really good place for a camp, where you have access to water and you've got ice in the cave so you could refrigerate your food and so on. It's a great little spot. Well, see all these lines coming away from the camp right there? All of these lines? This was back when you could still follow these lines, yeah, out to various locations where their mines were. The trees are all gone pretty much from Mosby Mountain anymore, but Gale Rhodes marked these out back when those trees were still there and available to use your compass on. Something to think about, okay? And they have a similar map to that in this book also. Okay, so Mel Fisher found the Atocha, wrecked in 1622, and he found a gold bar that had a map on the back side of it. Well, he came up to Utah in 1995, 96, looking for a treasure because he recognized, well, for one thing, he found the manifesto for the Atocha, and so that also told him where some of the stuff came from. But he also saw that map, and so he brought the map to the Indians, and he put down that gold bar, and the tribe passed it around the table, and each of them looked at it, and a friend of mine, name's Ron, he recognized that map as being Rock Creek. So he knew that some of the gold on the Atocha came from Rock Creek. Well, Mel Fisher wanted to give the tribe 10% of the gold that was on their land. Now they just laughed at him. So it didn't work out for him. Now, a huge breakthrough for me in trying to figure out this silver bar right here is that it has some symbols on it.
Go back, Dale.
See this?
Dale, go back and tell the story.
Okay. My sister and her husband came back from Florida. They had been to the Atocha Museum, the Mel Fisher Museum, and they had a bunch of pictures. Well, this was one of the photographs that they had taken, and it has this capital. This is a silver bar, by the way, that they had found at the Atocha site. And see this capital E? When you get a minute, come take a look at the silver bar, and it has a capital E on it. It's nearly identical to that E right there.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
That's the owner's mark, right?
Yeah. Now, I don't know which one's the shipper's mark. I haven't figured it totally out, but there's a lot we can learn from this silver bar. Now, there are various maps that have surfaced over the years. Let me back up just a hair and tell you that there are two guys that used to live in Utah. They're both deceased now. One was named Aaron, one was named the Bishop. These are nicknames. I never got to meet these guys. But that's the nickname that my friend Chris gave him. Well, Aaron had a 1741 Peralta map. Now, let me describe this map to you. I hope I'm not taking too much time. This map unrolls, and it's about 5 feet long. It's out of leather, and it has color. Some of the things on it are in color. And you roll it up, and then it slides into a silver cylinder, and the silver cylinder has writing, Spanish writing on the outside of it, and leather caps that go on it. I've never gotten to see it, but this is a part of it. Now, this Peralta map showed over 100 mines on it, about 104 mines. Goes all the way from the west side of the Great Salt Lake, all the way into what's now Colorado. The Spaniards knew what was here, didn't they? If 1741, that's quite a while back. Now, this is the Ronaldo map, 1851 and so on. And it's basically the same. So you look at them, they're quite similar. This is the Duchesne River right there, and so on. So let's tell a little bit more of the history of Utah. I think everybody here has heard about the Lost Roads mines, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
Brigham Young and Chief Walker had an agreement that somebody would go and retrieve some gold for the church. There's Brigham Young, there's Chief Walker. So they had an arrangement that they would go, somebody would go after the gold. Well, let me back up just a little. Thomas Rhodes was down in California when gold was discovered. He knew what gold was. He was also the church treasurer early on. And so he knew the Ute language. So he was the ideal one to send out, wasn't he? So he retrieved gold from various places. It's said that he had 7 areas where he liked to get gold from, and up to 3 mines at each location. That's a possible 21 mines, isn't it? 7 times 3. So he went all the way from Camas all the way out to Brush Creek. So that's Brush Creek's on the east end of the Uintas, and Camas is on the west end. Duchesne, Rock Creek, Moon Lake, Yellowstone, Pole Creek, Dry Fork Canyon, and the White Rocks. That's a big area. And it's said that the Uinta Mountains are so rich that the gold runs from one end to the other. And it's sort of like a ribbon from what I understand that goes up and down and up and down. And Caleb Rhodes knew where to go for the gold. Now, Thomas was getting the gold originally, and then he got sick, and so his son Caleb took over. So that's why you hear a lot about Caleb. Now, Caleb died in the spring of 1905. He and Hathenbrook were trying to open some mines and put some claims on it up around the Granddaddy Lakes. But he passed away before he saw that through. Sometimes there are a lot of subtle clues, and sometimes there are obvious clues to the mines. I've got a friend who he's been in this a long, long time, and he started on the north end of the Uintas and headed up towards Spirit Lake. The first cairn or monument, rock monument that he found was about 30 feet tall. Now, as you get closer and closer and closer to the mines, the clues get smaller and smaller and smaller. Just for, sometimes you're just looking for a little mark on a rock or something like that. So there's quite a bit to it. And of course okay, so here's, who's heard of the copper mine, or the copper map, I mean? Yeah, most of you have. So Aaron's ancestors, I'll say his grandpa, let's say, borrowed the copper map from the church, along with 2 other maps. I'd never seen the other 2. And he didn't take them back for whatever reason. And Moon Lake was the copper map. It showed the mines in this area. The one that Aaron got into is over on this side of Moon Lake. I didn't include. Go ahead. What?
Is that in the area where the campground is up there?
Oh, okay. Campground is down on this side. In fact, no, the campground is right in here. This would be the dam area.
Burned down is right in the same area too.
Okay. Yes, sir?
I was just gonna point out that the original lake didn't have that dam in it.
Right.
So it'd be a bit different shape than what we're used to when we go up.
Right.
Going back over towards Duck Creek.
That's correct. And I think after they put the dam in, I think it raised too. So it changed it.
Dale, you should go back and say that last year you couldn't get up in there anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point. So 2 years ago, we took a big group and we started here on this end of Moon Lake. We went around and we hiked up in here, and you could still get into some of these things, and there's still a lot of evidence that was there and available to look at. Last year we tried this again at the powwow, and it just didn't work out.
Well, there had been a fire, Dale, remember?
Yeah, there'd been a fire go through, and there'd been a lot of flooding. So this river coming down through here to go into Moon Lake had it completely washed out the bridge, for example. You just hardly can't get in there anymore. So I decided this year I'm not going to try and go up in there with anybody. So here's one of the, what I think is one of the mines. This is up in Blind Stream. Now you see the cat face? It turns out that one of my cousins, Sherrill Atwood was his name. He's not with us anymore. But I talked to him about it, and he said the Indians gave that symbol to him. Now, I think it was being used far before, long before Sherrill Atwood was using it. But I don't know the whole history about it. It's a little bit like the hooked X that you can read about, and there's a book about it and stuff too. Anyway, this was a long time ago. You can't even see this depression in the hillside anymore, can you, Mark? No? Okay, so here's what it, go ahead.
Going back, excuse me, the markings on the tree, how old did you say they are?
I don't think they're all that old, but Sherrill Atwood was using this symbol all the way up until he passed away.
So
Which
it was
was,
repeated over and over again on newer trees?
I think so.
Okay.
I believe so. Now, some of the cat faces are fairly old. Go ahead, Dan.
I know Steve Schaefer mentioned that he was using some of the marking trees like that as throwing people off and just having fun with them. So don't believe all the cat faces.
Yeah, but usually you'd go past the cat face. Right, usually you'd go past it and you'd find a mine, but not always, you're right.
Yeah, the thing is the aspen trees age, they only last 75 to 100 years.
Yeah,
So
Good.
that was when that was put in.
good point. Okay, so here's something that a Native American guy told a friend of mine. He took him right to this rock, and he said, you can see an all-seeing eye right here. Well, it does look a lot like an eye, and this would be the lid. And he called it the all-seeing eye. He says it points towards where the mine is. So let's see if we can figure this out. Right beside this rock, there's a very distinct trail. Goes up the hill, up to the bench, and then you've got a depression. Now, last year, or the last time I was there, which was 2 years ago now, you couldn't even hardly see this depression anymore. Mother Nature has a way of just erasing everything. Here's the Guardian Mine and the symbol that guards it. You can look at this, it's like a face up here. And it points right to this mine. Now this is a pretty good mine. I've never been inside of it, but I've seen pictures of the inside. It was wire gold and wire silver. If you ever watched that Golden Roads video on YouTube, this is the one that, maybe I shouldn't be giving out these secrets. Oh, what the heck. This is the mine that they went to at the end of that video. This is the one they went into. So Randy Lewis and Paul Tebbe and a bunch of the guys, they took the producer of the video down into this mine. But last time I was here, it only had a tarp over top of it and a couple of little sticks you could throw that out of the road. But let me warn you, there are cameras in this area. That motivates everybody, doesn't it? Exactly. Exactly. Okay, so this is at Loggers Cabin Park. And there's, one day I was here, we happened to run into Mick Norton and Randy Lewis. And we decided we're going to go look for one of these mines. So you go up the hill just a short distance, and you'll find this cave, this little indentation, and you look out the back end of it. You can look through there, and you're supposed to be able to see a mine from that spot. So what we did was we took our bearings off this dead tree and so on, and then we went over there. And sure enough, we found a depression in the ground. I think it used to be a mine. Sometimes we have to read between the lines, don't we? Okay, briefly, siglas are a Spanish name for symbol. It's kind of like a brand on a cow. Okay? For example, this symbol right here, this expedition symbol, I don't know which family it belonged to. Could have been the Peralta family, could have been another family. Most of these symbols, the trees that we've dated, are from the late 1700s. So there's the owl tree, which is actually a heart tree because it's grown over most of the way. That's Randy Lewis and Dan Lowe. And I was helping them date the tree, date the scar. So what we were doing is you've got the scar right here, and you coordinate into there, and you coordinate into here, and you subtract one from the other, and that tells you how old the scar is. Has everybody agreed with that idea? The ladies that work for the Forest Service don't agree with me, but where's Dustin Green? Yeah, Dustin, you're the expert on this.
I agree with the Forest ladies.
Oh, okay, okay.
I don't know.
What's your opinion? How should we date this tree or the scar?
I have no idea. If
Okay.
Sasquatch doesn't live in it, it's probably not that old.
Okay, let's move on. There are lots and lots of symbols. Okay, you can find them in the trees because they reshape the trees. This was quite interesting. Dan Lowe did some experimentation, and you can actually take a limb of a pine tree, and as long as it's not bigger than 3/4 of an inch in diameter, you can actually reshape it and tie it in a knot, just like this one is. So it's a direction marker, isn't it? Go in that direction. Also, here's another direction marker. You've got a spike inside of that one. Follow the spike. SP is what this one was, and it's quite interesting. Gail Rhodes, in his book, he says that gave you two different ways of going around the ledges. And he says that's the way the Spaniards did it. And I totally agree with him because that's what we tested that theory. And I don't know who SP is. I don't know which Spanish explorer it was. But anyway, it led us over to the hill over on the White Rock side, following the symbols. This had a large A, a large heart, and a small heart. So Bob Fair and I, the way we interpreted this, you put your back towards the symbol, and you go to your left. So we went down off the edge of the hill, and we found another one of the cat faces, and this big ledge of almost solid iron. So we think we're in the right spot. We did do some digging there, and eventually I found a stick of dynamite. I know, kind of scary, huh? So No. I think the Indians did that, I believe. Anyway, we reburied it, of course. Okay, so I get a lot of questions. What does this symbol mean? Or what does that symbol mean? Or how do we understand this? Well, I want you to think something out here. Because the most common way that the symbols were used, it's like a map. Okay, so I would like you to look at something here. There's a bird symbol right here. Okay. Now, geographically, we're going to look at the next one. And what do you see here? Do you see the beak? And one wing and another wing? There's Granddaddy Lake. Here, I'll go back. Do you think there's some resemblance? There are 3 different bird symbols we've been able to find. This is in Blind Stream. So if you go up to the top of Blind Stream and hang a left, you're going to go out on the edge of the Granddaddy Lakes, the range up there. So I think there's a strong chance that that's what it's trying to tell you. And it could even be that where these dots are, that means that's where the mines are. Something to think about. If you have a theory, go with it, you know. And I don't have all the answers. There's a dozen guys in here that have got more knowledge than I've got about this stuff. But I appreciate you being patient with me as we learn together. Spaniard's soul yearns for God, but his heart forever yearns for gold. What does that one look like? Conquistador, huh? This is up in the Sheep Creek area up in Wyoming. Oh, somebody asked me one day during a presentation, well, how do you know that they shaped the rocks? Well, look at this one. This is a heart, of course. And I looked closely right below this, and you could see the remains of what they had chipped away. They wanted this to be a heart. Well, they wanted it to be a heart, and I'll tell you why. And on the trail leading around the hill were more hearts. Pretty cool, huh? And this led him, my friend of mine, led him right to a gold bar. He found it led him to a cave, and then way in the back reaches of that cave, he found a gold bar. So there was something to it, wasn't there? Here's another heart. This up in Wyoming. What does that look like? A lion, yeah, you got it.
Where's that?
This one's up above Miller Canyon out in the West Desert. Now, these cairns, let's talk for just a minute about these monuments that the Spaniards, or whoever it was, made. So one day I was talking with a guy, and he was familiar with what the sheep herders do. He said, well, the sheep herders made that. A friend of mine did an experiment. And he said, yeah, you could get a little ways up on the monument, but he says the further up you get, the further away from the monument you've got to go to pick up the rocks. So before long, it becomes a huge task. So I think the Spaniards did this, but they did it probably with Indian labor, I imagine. This is on Ivan's property at the mouth of Rock Creek. And everybody probably knows where this one is, up in Diamond Fork. Now this is a turtle. and its head's looking towards us. I've seen some pretty good turtles in my life, but not a lot. I think there's some really, really good turtles out there, especially down in Arizona and places like that. Do any of you ever watch Blind Frog Ranch? Yeah. About 3 episodes ago, for this season, they showed a really, really cool turtle. I mean, it was like the thing was walking. It was incredible. I loved it. But I don't know exactly where it is. Somewhere at the base of Mosby Mountain. There's another turtle. This one's up on the Duchesne River. Oh, and a friend of mine gave this to me. He's labeled it and so on. And that's a poodle, of course. Okay, Current Creek, okay. No, I won't elaborate on all the possibilities there, but I will say that a couple of Indians that I eventually made really good friends with wanted me to see some of the stuff that was out on their Indian property near Round Grove, that area. And so you can see that whoever made this stuff went to a lot of work, and they had not just one person, they had several people to do this kind of stuff. I mean, isn't that incredible? This is up by Round Grove. Now this one's in Crow Creek. Okay, let's look at vein markers for just a minute. There are holes in the rock this way, and there are holes in the rock this way. This is coming down from Vernal, on the west end of Vernal, southwest end of Vernal. It's right on the side of the road. And then the rock below it shows also where the vein is. Now, I know some of them you're going to say, now you're reading things into it. You could be right. But I've seen this more than once now, that a post out in the middle of the field with nothing else around it is actually a vein marker. And I've determined that because of what the PPL rod tells me. Are the Spanish still checking on their mines? I think sometimes they are. This is up in just below Moon Lake. It says Los Plata Mina. And it has a cross there. Now this tree's long dead and gone, but this is from several years ago when I took the picture. And then the tree about 100 yards away from it, the original tree was right over in here. This tree says, Rula Garcia, looking for the lost mine of my ancestors. And he's written it all the way around the tree, okay? 1971 through 88. No luck, I quit. Pursuit of gold. Have any of you heard of Big D? Yeah. This is, we went on a helicopter ride with him last October. That was a lot of fun. We flew over Moon Lake and Rock Creek and this whole area. This is overlooking the Duchesne River that's down here. So we landed up here. It was the closest we could get to where we wanted to go. Have any of you heard of the Crack Mine? Do you remember the story that Caleb Rhodes was lowered down into the mine by the Indians, and they could pluck away at the gold nuggets that were on the wall? I've heard of this one since, almost from my childhood. Ed Twitchell told me lots of clues about this one. He had never been there before. But a friend of mine knew where it was. So when we were up there, I didn't land it, but I was with the group that landed it. Big D, he landed it. And then we went over here to the actual mine, and I've got a short video here to show you. Let's see if I can.
So how do you go into this hole again?
Okay, so right here you'll drop off and you go down and you'll drop off. Once you get down where you can't see no more, it drops off 10 feet.
Okay.
There's a flat surface there.
Okay.
And you gotta work your way through that crack and drop another rope down over there because this rope won't work for over there. So you gotta drop another one down over there in the crack.
Okay.
And you grab a hold of that rope and you go down another 20 feet. And
Okay.
then that's where there's some visible gold in the rock. Now, there's a kind of a ramp down in there, and you go down to the end of the ramp, and you drop off another 30 feet, and that's where the trap is. That's where that Spanish trap is.
Okay. Cool.
Anyway, that is the crack mine. Now, he knows, Mike Lockwood knows, because he's taken gold out of there before. If it meets the description, he's found gold in there, and so on. Okay, not just Utah where we can find gold. We like to go to California to find our gold, near Murphy, California. And so we traveled on a Sunday, or on a Saturday, went to church on Sunday, and one of the guys there at church said, well, why are you in California for gold? We just said, hey, it's supposed to be a good place. So he said, oh, I got gold in my backyard. So guess what we did? We went over to his place. And it's been a really good spot for us ever since. Now, pretty much it's played out. But let me show you how I use the rod, okay? Okay, we're in an area where we've been before and we've gotten nuggets before. So now we're trying to find the hottest spots. And you can see in this ditch that we're in, where the PPL is going back and forth and back and forth. That means we're close to gold. We're going to see if we can find some hot spots where we can focus our efforts. We think that there's gold pretty much all through this area. Now we're going to see if we can focus our efforts right in this area and see where we might be missing gold or in the future be able to recover more gold. Right here is where we actually have one of the hot spots. You can see as I go from left to right with the PPL rod that I pick up a hot spot right there. It locks onto it very well, because even if I try to go past it, it still goes right back to it. There's another spot right here too, right there, that's very strong. And it locks. So it doesn't want to allow the rod to go past, it wants to flip back to it. Now you can also look at this vertically, and I'll try and put this at an angle so that you can see it. And as I go over top of the hot spot, I don't know if you can see that or not, but literally the PPL is no longer vertical. It's pulling back towards me. The tip is pulling back towards me. It's no longer at the same angle. And I can definitely feel it. And it's very, very strong. Can you see that, Ken? How it's actually literally pulling back towards me. That's important for us to realize, because I know we can't convey feelings over videos, but we can convey results. And right there, I can literally feel it. It's like a brick wall that it doesn't want to go any further. So hopefully you're seeing the results of that, because there's definitely a hot spot right there. That's where we're going to focus our efforts today. We're going to take out this hillside right here in this ditch. We're going to run the material through a sluice box and just see how well we do. Now in the past 3 days we've been here and we've got recovered gold each of those 3 days. And the PPL and the dowsing rods have helped us each of those days to kind of focus our efforts in certain areas. And they've proven out very true. Okay, Ken. Those two biggest nuggets right there were the ones that we found in those two spots right there. So it proved out to be correct. I have this video on YouTube, but I didn't follow it up with the results. I should have. Somebody texted me and said, hey, you're calling, saying you're a liar because you're not showing the results. Well, I'm showing the results here, okay? And why we were using the PPL and other tools was because we were starting to get running out of the gold that was in that area. We wanted to see if there was still more left. Oh, there's other ways to determine where gold is. This is called a gold weed. It's got a scientific name, but you don't need to know that. We just affectionately called it the gold weed. This is what it looks like in its second year when it comes up and goes to seed. We've proven out that 9 times out of 10, where this gold weed is, you'll find gold in the area. Just as an example, at Payson Canyon on the Nebo Loop, you can find a hillside that has a bunch of these weeds in it. And I took some of the dirt, put it in a 5-gallon bucket and brought it home. Turns out there was gold in it. So gold in the area. Now, do any of you ever watch Jeff Williams? Yeah. He says where there is the trumpet plant. Thank you. That you'll find iron and heavy metals in that area. So that's something else to look for. And my uncle, who was a geologist while he was alive, he said, well, there are plants that are well known to be associated with copper and silver. He says it makes sense that there would be some associated with gold too. Anybody know Dave Bullock? He's a great guy. These are a couple of rings that he had made from the gold from the Uinta Mountains. Anybody know Gary Christensen? He used to go, I won't say where. He used to go on Indian land and bring out some dirt, and he and his wife would pan it. And that's out of a small amount of dirt. That's the gold he was getting. Isn't that impressive? Now, up in Blind Stream, you got an old sluice box that's up there. Mark saw it just a couple of days ago. Wasn't quite that intact, I guess, huh, Mark? It's somebody put it up there a long time ago, and on one of the trees nearby there it says Nugget, N-U-G-E-T, not a double G, but anyway. And there's another tree that says no gold on it. So they've had some good luck and some bad luck. But you can also dredge in that area because it's on the dredge permit. One day, can't remember his name. Anyway, a guy that I know from Vernal, he had found a rock about the size of a small football, and Paul Tobey kept bugging him and saying, hey, you really ought to pan that rock, because you could see visible gold on it, so you knew there was gold in it. So he took the rock and crushed it up and panned it, and that's the kind of gold he was getting out of there. No, it's somebody else. Anyway, there's another map that corresponds with gold in Uintas. Now we found this little tree or this little trail up on Paradise Peak, but we've never found the gold. Not yet. Not yet, that's right. There's a rock, a piece of quartz with gold in it, from that mine.
That's pretty out of focus.
I know it's out of focus. I didn't take the picture. I didn't take the picture.
I think I see Bigfoot in there too.
Right. There you go. So, do the mines exist or not? I'll let you decide. In the meantime, have fun. It's yours, Phil.